I've been working in insect restoration, and I've been doing a few different things. A couple of years ago, what I did was I rode a bicycle from Maine to Florida, following the monarch butterfly migration path, and hosting tea parties at organic cemeteries, which I'd been in contact with and persuaded to plant native milkweed to help the monarch butterflies go back and forth from Canada to Mexico. The success of it was I was giving out stickers, and I made a bunch of stickers to give away, but I gave them to every man, woman, and child in every gas station parking lot, every Dunkin' Donuts, anybody I met I gave stickers to, and we ended up having wonderful conversations about insects. For the past 40 years, globally, the insect population has dropped by approximately half. And you can notice it if you're driving a car long distances. You'll notice that 10 or 20 years ago, there was bugs all over your windshield. Now there's not. So it's a conversation that needs to happen, and it can happen pleasantly. And way stations can be constructed in people's yards, in gardens. So this year I wanted to give out stickers. I wanted to go on tour. Last time we spoke, I was talking about trying to walk from here to Niagara Falls, but it turns out that it's almost illegal. There's a lot of places when I was doing the bike ride where I would be riding along for miles and miles of forest, and there would be signs on all the trees saying private property, dogs on patrol. You'd hear guns going off in the forests, and you couldn't stay. So you just keep riding. You know, a 50-mile day would turn into a 70-mile day, but you'd find a place to stay. When you're walking, you don't have that option. So what I decided to do now is create about 500 miles of walks, most of them here in New York, and invite everybody to walk with me. Anybody who wants to join me can walk with me. I've been talking to stores, and they're saying, yeah, you can start here. You know, we'll have coffee for you, you know. And so just go on walks and hand out stickers to everybody I meet. I'm going to be doing about 10 to 20-mile walks. The nice thing about New York is people can find a subway if they get tired, just do part of it, or just come out and say hi when we take off in the morning, or meet us wherever we end up. And the idea is to have conversations with people along the way, and also just talk to people and have a nice time. So I've been practicing walking, and it turns out that bike riding is much more fun. Bike riding, if you ride up a hill, it's a struggle, but you get to ride down the hill. When you walk up a hill, you got to walk down the other side. And it's also much more painful. It takes more, it requires more from you than riding a bike. So while I've been doing this, I was thinking, okay, walking is a means of communication. I get out there and I get to meet people and talk to people, talk to strangers. That's what I do. And then as I've been doing this, I've been doing 20-mile walks, I realize it's not just a means of communication, but in so many ways, walking is actually a form of communication. One example is if I'm walking through a bunch of pigeons, I can communicate to them that I'm not a threat and they won't fly away just by the way I walk, as to where if somebody else walks through, they're all going to fly away. Historically, people have used walks to send messages. Like when Gandhi walked to the water to make salt, he was sending a huge message as he did his walk. Chairman Mao, when he did his walk, which took a year, it started off as a retreat. They were retreating, but by the time they got to their location, a whole narrative was constructed as to what that walk was actually about. So there's also religious walks, following paths that people had walked centuries before to connect with people through the centuries. I've also noticed, like I said, it's kind of painful to walk, that right now people are being forced to walk. There's about 110 million people have been displaced by wars, by famines and droughts, and their option is to walk. And so I was thinking while I was doing this that you can't really empathize completely with them except for in your imagination, but you can't really feel what they're going through in their minds and their hearts and their stomach. But when you're walking 20 miles, parts of you are going to hurt. And when you see people walking these long distances, you can realistically connect with them. like even just in your heel, when you see people of, all ages, old people, young people, people carrying kids, doing these long walks, there's something happening to them. And so you can go out and have a lovely walk and talk to your friends and stop and drink water and stuff, but parts of you are locked in with what other people are experiencing who are walking for different reasons. In the end, the goal of my walks is to talk to strangers and get them to go home and plant flowers that I'm never going to see. And I've done it before, and that's what the plan is. As far as insect restoration goes, I think it's the nicest way to approach it that I can do, anyway, from where I'm standing. Even though oftentimes things seem dire, with what's happening with the environment and migration patterns shifting and everything, there are examples through history where way stations have been constructed and species have actually survived. And in fact, one of the walks I'm going to do is up to the Bronx Zoo, where they've got the Père David deer, which was a deer that was in China that got hunted to extinction, and they found out, there's some in a zoo in England, and we have some here in the Bronx Zoo, so I'm going to go walk up there and see them. There's going to be a lot of thematic walks. I don't know if I've any questions?
When do you start?
I'm going to start. I've kind of started, but I'm going to plan out thematic walks. I'm working on one now, which will be Abraham Lincoln's funeral route through Manhattan. There's a lot of nice photographs that you can see. There's a picture of 6-year-old Teddy Roosevelt looking out of his grandfather's window at the funeral route as they went up Broadway and were turning onto 14th Street at Union Square. So there's a lot of things to talk about while doing these walks, and each walk can have its own idea behind it. I recently walked up to where they shot the first Frankenstein film in 1910, and it was an idea. But thank you for having me here, and I like you all very much, and this has been a wonderful experience. So, thank you.
You whoop whoop.